Something that I feel like is very important to say is that we are from Ecuador, which is the center of the world. And this presentation will be centered around that perspective. And we need to be very clear about that because community necessities will change depending on region, country, areas, etc., even language. So the idea of this is also to maintain diversity, inclusion, and equity at the center of the discussions because that's the most important thing when we actually want to create an impact, being inclusive. So we're going to talk about how our experience as global shapers, which are young leaders who drive solutions to locally rooted problems and also global challenges, how our experience and the things that we've done to make this happen. And you'll get more information about what global shapers are in a minute. This is just kind of an introduction. The idea at the end is also to have this be a collaborative discussion, which is how the whole session has been arranged and organized, which is why I really want you guys to now reflect and give us your opinions at the end. Next slide, please. Okay, so I think one of the most important things here is also to maintain the idea of what our sustainable development goals are, which is basically these five that we have analyzed that go hand in hand with the things that we are mainly focused on, right? So first, we have quality education because when it comes to social and community initiatives, education plays a huge role. And when it comes to AI, it's exactly the same because it's a new tool that is rapidly changing and expanding, which is a big reason why quality education is so important. Then we have industry, innovation, and infrastructure, which is this idea of how different areas and systems can interact in a way that we can build something new with help of new technologies, for example, driven in local solutions, right? Then we have number 10, which is the idea to reduce inequalities. And I feel like AI has the power to do so. And it also gives people access to things that they didn't have before. While if we use it in the correct and positive way, which is something we will also analyze in this lab further along with one of my other colleagues. Number 11 is sustainable cities and communities. And I feel like this is a big part of this discussion in general because the idea of building communities that are sustainable and that are inclusive goes hand in hand with how technology advances and how we need to make sure that it's used in that way instead of as a tool to separate or divide, which can also happen. And this also goes hand in hand with the experience we have in building projects with this youth led focus, which is very important because we have to talk about all these different projects and initiatives, initiatives in a way that makes sense in our generation, in up and coming generations, and how we can appeal to them also. And the last one is partnership for the goals, which I feel like it's a great example of what's happening here today. Hecho por Nosotros has created this space and invited different leaders, experts, and groups like us to be able to have these conversations because richness comes from changing your perspective, learning about new things, and interacting with other people who have different lived experiences, professional experiences, and different knowledge that is not only rooted in technology, but also personal and cultural experience, which is definitely the most important thing. Next slide. And here I want to introduce you to my colleague, Isa, which she's going to share with you guys what the Global Shapers community is. So I'm going to hand it off to her.
Thank you, Mari. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, let me start with a simple question. What if the best solutions to global challenges didn't come from the top down, but from local communities? That's exactly what Global Shapers believes. Global Shapers Community is an initiative of the World Economic Forum that empowers young leaders under the age of 30 to create positive change in their own communities. Around the world, we are 11,000 shapers with 450 hubs in 140 countries and territories. We work with global knowledge, local action, and collective impact. And what makes difference in global shapers, please? Next slide.
Next slide.
Next slide, please. Thank you. Okay, what makes global shapers different? Many people think it's because we are part of a global network or because we are reconnect with World Economic Forum, but that's not what makes us different. What makes us different is every project begins not with solution, with a conversation. What makes global shapers unique? We learn from global experience, but every initiative is designed around local needs and local voices and local leaders. Our values encourage collaboration, inclusion, integrity, curiosity. We also work across key impact areas like inclusion, future skills, health, well-being, humanitarian action, and civic engagement and climate action. And it's important that you need to remember that we don't import solutions. We can create them with communities. Please, next slide. Okay, Keto Hub in action. What happens when young people stop asking, what can someone do, and start asking, what can we do together? At the Keto Hub, that question has shaped the way we approach every initiative. And I remember that a few years ago, we asked ourselves a simple question. How can we better support migrant communities? The questions lead to Shapers Without Borders. That was a project that support Venezuelan migrants through regularization, entrepreneurship, and employability. And, and today, another challenges culture tension, mental health. Behind every statistic in a person whose story often does. And here, that's why we created Tito Walks Without Silence, to create spaces where conversations about mental health become conversations about hope and community and support. At first, migration and mental health may seem like completely different issues, but for us, like community, it's exactly the same way. That starts in the same way, by listening. Listening before designing solutions, listening before building projects, and listening before leading. Thank you. And now I'm going to introduce my colleague, Andres.
Okay, hello everyone, and thank you, Isa, for introducing me. Well, as part of some ideas and strategies that we wanted to share with you in order to help you come up with ideas for this lab, we have and we present you today with some strategies to leverage AI to make your projects in a tailor-made proposal or action plans. This is from a project management perspective. So we practically have selected and prioritized three principles from our experience in Global Shapers as well as in our professional careers. And these principles I'm gonna explain just more in detail in the next slides. These are cultural sensitivity, ancestral wisdom, and of course the 2030 agenda as a way to amplify the impact of the community-led projects that we're doing. And also a principle that is present in all of them is basically listening. As Isa said, listening to community and maintaining a continuous dialogue with them is very important in order to make our projects more impactful for them and also to develop a sort of ownership and participation and engagement with them in the different stages of our project. So please, the next slide. So in terms of cultural sensitivity, many of you perhaps do have this experience but you know that cultural sensitivity and exchanging with our community builds trust. And this is a long sustained process that needs to be nurtured in every part of our implication with the community and our implementation of the projects. Trust is so important that it can take years to be developed, but it can also take seconds to take it down if we take a misplaced action or we make mistakes. So that is why cultural sensitivity also invites us to listening and understanding what are the needs, the specific expectations, and also the participation that the community is seeing through our project. Also, cultural sensitivity invites us to avoid, in a certain way, the technical authority bias trap, which is basically since we have perhaps more we have more education in terms of accessing to university or other types of specializations, we may go with a technical bias or authority that is misplaced, and people can regret that. So one strategy in terms of AI is that AI can support us in simplifying larger proposals and also complex project management language and frameworks in order to make it more familiar and trustworthy with our community. For example, through infographics, diagrams, to have executive summaries and stories, or perhaps better scenarios in which people can relate and see how through our project they can have also an impact in how they can participate in that. Next slide, please. I'm gonna go a little bit faster for the sake of the time. Also, here in Ecuador, we do have extensive experience with ancestral wisdom and how do we leverage in order to create better solutions and better locally led proposals and changes, perhaps, that we're looking for. Through ancestral wisdom, we encourage the community engagement and active participations in all key stages of the project. This is very important because, once again, it develops a certain level of ownership from the community, and more than a beneficiary or a participant of the project, they become an associate and a direct implementator of the project as well. Ancestral wisdom also allows us to better seize the primary sources, which are basically them, and acknowledge their value. So that is why, with our experiences, we have found that AI is a powerful tool to design primary information in the collection of tools and also to generate solid reports based on the evidence that we have had already collected. The next slide, please. And also, let us not all forget the importance of the 2030 agenda, because this is the strong and concrete impact framework that we can use regardless of the community project that we're doing, either if it's a locally led community project, a city-led community project, regional, or even an internationally led community project. This is always our framework for impact. Also, this helps us build solid legitimacy, and it helps us amplify the outreach of the community projects we're doing. And in one way that we have thought that this could improve, and this can be boosted by artificial intelligence, is that it can help us design a tailor-made KPIs or indicators for the impact, linking them to the specific target of the 2030 agenda, and also highlighting the local impact. That also is a way to educate the local community on how their project is also contributing to a larger agenda. So I hand it to my colleague, Melissa. Thank you.
Thank you, Andresito. So now let's come a little bit into practice. It's clear that AI is not a magic solution for community problems. As we said before, it's a tool. And like any tool, its value depends on who uses it, how, and with what safeguards, right? So as someone working on data daily, my role today is to bring lens on not what I can do with AI, but mostly how can I use responsibly and also with ethics? So, let me introduce you someone. We will call her Anna. Anna is 24 years. She lives in a community in the outer areas of Quito, and she has just started a project that she wants to develop on bringing clean water access to her community, right? So she has the idea, she has the will, and she has her community supporting her idea. But what she's missing? A team. And it's here where AI starts to carry the weight of things, right? So when we want to develop an idea, somehow we have to develop other things. But what happens here is that sometimes we do not feel prepared to develop these things. Maybe sometimes we have issues with the language, and AI help us as a tool to develop these proposals and technical writings, right? Sometimes we have to manage some surveys, we have to develop the logo to sell our proposal, and also a plan that nobody told her how to build. We have all of us, I think, we have been in the position of Anna. So here comes the twist. Years ago, we hadn't have AI. So we have to face these issues and these challenges by ourselves. But now, with AI, we can draft proposals in afternoons instead of months. We can turn messy surveys answers into a clear picture of what our community actually needs. And also, we can build one-pagers that looks really good, because now ideas don't need a big team to look credible. They just need someone who cares enough to start. So, what's also come risky here, and we also have to pay a lot of attention, is that what happens if Anna starts to ask AI to help her to understand her community needs instead of listening to her community? For sure, we know that AI is trained on data from everywhere except her town. So what's happening when we start losing this connection, this ancestral and local knowledge? What happens if the model can't tell the difference between a public policy problem and something that only makes sense through the ancestral knowledge her grandmother could have told her in 5 minutes? So we have to pay a lot of attention to how we use these kind of tools. What happened if funders start trusting the AI polished proposal more than the messy, the human community meeting where really decisions happen? So what we have, and what's the real risk, is that AI can make anything look real, but it can't make anything actually legitimate. Only we humans, only we people can do that, by staying in the room, by asking questions, by listening to our communities. So this conversation is not about warning against using AI. Instead, it's an invitation to use it on purpose. Let it carry the weight on paperwork, on translation, on logistics, the thing that sometimes limit us before we even start. But never let it carry the weight of listening, deciding, or representing our communities, because we are the ones who know the reality we experience day by day. That part stays on us, on humans. That part stays on us. So my question for all of you, before and we want to know you and know your perspectives and know what you think about this. Is how can artificial intelligence amplify rather than replace the ancestral knowledge and creativity that have sustained communities for generations? We have heard a lot about in this conversation, in this past conversation, but what do you think about this? What ideas come to your mind when we talk about preserving our knowledge on the knowledge of our communities through generations, and how can artificial intelligence be used as a tool to maintain this knowledge? So feel free to open the microphone, to leave us message in the chat, to share any thought you come to your mind. So yes, we want to hear you. Also, if you don't feel like confident talking in English, do it in Spanish. It's also really good for us. If you have any questions, I will read it in the question in Spanish. It will be like, ¿cómo puede la inteligencia artificial amplificar en lugar de reemplazar el conocimiento ancestral y la creatividad que han sostenido a las comunidades durante generaciones? Ok, Meli Rualis.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for this amazing session. I do feel like right now, artificial intelligence can be used as a tool to enhance our creativity. It won't necessarily replace our ideas, but I do feel like when you use AI as a companion or somebody that can help you organize your ideas, it can be beneficial in the long term. And also, I feel like using it in the day-to-day life or for work or any creative projects, it helps you save a lot of time. And something that I do feel has been like positive within my own work is just that helping you organize your ideas, helping you put everything like in place and order it for you. So that's something that I feel like it won't replace your ideas, but it will help you kind of structure it all.
True. Thank you very much, Meli, for sharing this idea with us. It's also really nice to use the tools we have. Sometimes the message is to reject using some tools because they will replace us either than work within us, right? So Chris, tell us.
Yeah, thank you so much. Sorry, I was just using the audio, so I didn't see the question. So I just went straight to start typing. Oh, could you tell me the question again? And I now saw the question boldly on the screen. So that's for now. I think artificial intelligence is it has become a very important tool in our daily lives. It has helped us to write emails. We can search for knowledge very quickly. We can look at some simple hard taxes, and we're able to simplify it using AI. But we should ask ourselves, ancestral knowledges and creativities are still very much important with us. AI is now a tool that we can even use it to still amplify more of ancestral knowledge and creativity across. Because AI doesn't work alone. AI has people feeding it with information, people feeding it with information. So the thing there is, these communities that still have these ancestral knowledges and creativity, how can we sustain them using AI so it can be reached to other people who don't really understand how various community works. So if in the part of other communities, knowledges has been transferred from generations to generations, and at some point, you find out that some of these knowledges have been lost over time. So the thing now is, if we're going to be using AI, we should think about having informations, not hoarding informations for AI. We should be able to make these informations accessible so that when people put a prompt, they can be able to access these informations. And I believe that we are sustaining our knowledges for communities. I know AI has its own impact, but I wouldn't talk about the impact right now. Let's stick to the question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chris. Such interesting information. And yes, true. Like AI has many impacts, right? Actually, and for sure in future, it will have more, and we will continue learning about it and also how to use it and continue using it responsibly, right? Okay, so Maria Emilia.
Okay, there's actually a response in the chat. So I'm going to read it. It's from Carlos Torres. He said that he thinks AI should be a tool that helps preserve and share ancestral knowledge while keeping communities and their traditions at the center of creativity and decision making. And he also says, as we said, AI should be a bridge between these things. I don't know if there's anybody else who wants to say anything, but I want to thank everyone for their participation. All the opinions have been so very interesting, and I just thank everyone for being here and being open to having these discussions with us. I want to share the next slide. Millie, next slide. Like I said, we just want to thank everyone. This has been such an interesting experience for all of us. And I hope that you guys enjoyed it. If you have any more comments or anything you want to share with us, or if anybody else from my group wants to say something, please do so.
Perhaps we can anticipate to the participants that we're getting back to the main room here in the event, and some insights and thoughts that have been shared through the sessions will be also shared in this bigger room. So to let you know all that your contributions here are very important and are also being noted in order to contribute to the general agenda and the general topic of this event. So thank you. So thank you as well for that contribution and participation from you.